Howdy, y'all, and welcome into today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, as always, joined by the one and only Jeremy Hokius Greco. Jeremy, you are back in the lovely state of Carolina, north or south. You may never know.
I mean, I thought I made it pretty clear I was in North Carolina.
No. We'll never know. You're an international
I am
man of
really
mystery.
close to the South Carolina border. And in fact, when I tune in, I use YouTube TV. And when I tune in to YouTube TV and get the local channels, they're all from South Carolina.
That sounds, there are just, I know most of our listeners are in Kansas and Missouri, so they'll understand the fact of like, there's just pockets of like no populous hub, if that makes sense. And I feel like North Carolina is like that. If you're not on an interstate, it can be a while before you hit a major town.
I'm in one of the more populated areas of North Carolina, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's top 10 as far as populated cities.
There you go.
I'd have to Google that to be sure, but I'm not in a nowhere land. I'm much more in a much more civilized area than where my parents live.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
there you go. Well, hey, we are there. I'm sure we will talk about the population density once the census comes back around or something like that. But we are here to talk about Major League Baseball today. So we are going to keep our position review going of the Royals. We'll talk about first base later on. And let me tell you, folks, things are looking dire at that position, to say the least. But before we get to that, we do also have some baseball with the capital B things to talk about. The Tarik Skubal fallout, a major free agent player finally finds a home. Plus, what else is Rob Manfred cooking up for the freaking league now? But before we get into all that, just a reminder, go check out royalsreview.com. They make this podcast happen. A lot of great work going on over there in the off season. We're getting to a point right now where it's easy to look at the free agent class before free agency starts. It's harder to keep track of who could go where once we get to this point of the off season, once pitchers and catchers reporting is on the horizon. So we got some recaps going on right now over on the site, and always the rumblings every single day, only at royalsreview.com. All right, Jeremy. So the first thing that you listed off to me to talk about, and I think this was something that I was focused on when we were hitting the arbitration deadline, Tarik Skubal and the Detroit Tigers. It has been no secret this offseason that it doesn't sound like the Detroit Tigers are planning on paying the two-time Cy Young winner after his final year of team control.
I'm not sure they plan on paying him for his final year of control.
I at least thought that with how well they did in 2025 and their thin rotation options behind like number 3 in the rotation, I thought, okay, well, we won the division, so we'll at least invest in what we have for 26 and worry about 27 later. Like, just this disparity between Skubal and the Tigers on this arbitration filing is ridiculous. So if y'all missed it, Tarik Skubal's camp is seeking a record $32 million in salary arbitration. And the Tigers countered with $19 million, causing a, quote, record $13 million spread, according to ESPN. Now, Jeremy, I do want to hear. I want to hear where you
into a little bit of context. The difference between their numbers, is greater than the amount that the Royals will pay Vinnie Pasquantino and Chris Bubich, even if both of them win their cases.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Just the difference between their numbers is more than that.
Yes, just the difference. This is, I want to hear where you sit on this, because I have heard multiple arguments on this front. I have heard a lot of folks say Skubal's camp is absolutely delirious for trying to get this amount, but I'm leaning more toward, I'm leaning more towards like, this is at least close to what his market value is.
Let's remember that it is record breaking, but not by like light years. The record is 31.5, which is what I believe what the Yankees paid Juan Soto. It's either what the Yankees paid Juan Soto or it's what the Dodgers paid Cody Bellinger. I saw both of those things reported. And it can't be what the Dodgers paid Bellinger, because the Dodgers cut Bellinger before he reached his final year of arbitration, didn't they?
Yes.
Okay. So then it's what the Yankees paid Juan Soto. And Tarik Skubal has won the Cy Young Award 2 years in a row against pretty stiff competition from Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans, Framber Valdez, Garrett Crochet, a lot of really good pitchers in the AL.
Yeah.
And he's won it 2 years in a row. It's 32 million. And remember, in the final year of arbitration, you can compare your salaries to the whole league, to the whole sport, not just to other arbitration eligible guys. That's why you get a huge raise in the final year. Other pitchers are getting more than $30 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
A year. 100% is a viable number. Meanwhile, this is I pulled this from Craig Brown's article, his Sunday Ramblings newsletter that he did in Into the Fountains this morning. This would be the second highest, 19 million if the Tigers got their way, would be the second highest arbitration amount they'd ever paid.
Wow.
The highest would be 19.5, which is what they offered and gave to David Price in 2015.
Oh, man.
Now, David Price was a really good pitcher.
Yeah.
He was not a back-to-back Cy Young Award winner, and that was a decade ago.
Right.
Salary. So somehow they see Tarik Skubal as worth less in multiple ways than David Price, which doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't. And I'm sure a lot of factors have changed since then. This is,
for one thing, pitchers are getting $30 million a year now.
Yeah, right.
And another guy we're going to talk about here in a minute got $35 million a year.
Right.
Not a pitcher. Jeez Louise.
Players' contracts are getting the highest that they've ever been, especially on an annual basis. Now we're going to the hearing. Like this is a huge disparity, and I'm leaning towards, I think that Skubal is going to not get that 32 million, but I think
he's definitely going to get it.
You think so?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like the highest ever in a hearing was 19.9 million in 2024 with Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, but when you look at the numbers, when you look at what he deserves to make, they're going to give it to him. Giving him 19 would be criminal.
Right. I think
the only reason they've never awarded more is because every other team that's ever had a player that good has been too smart to let it get that far. The Tigers should have negotiated. So the way this works is when we get to the negotiation, the arbiter has to pick between these two numbers now. They can't change these numbers, and they can negotiate and come to an agreement between themselves about these numbers, but the numbers are the numbers as far as the arbitrator is concerned if they get that far. And so the arbitrator can't. The Tigers absolutely should have been like, yeah, we'll give you 30 if you'll just sign now. And they could have saved a couple million. There's no arbitrator that's going to look at this and be like, yeah, Tarik Skubal's only worth 9. Between the two numbers, maybe if you gave the arbitrator carte blanche, he'd pick something more like 25. I don't know. Maybe he'd pick something more like 22 even. But he can't look at that and be like, yeah, 19's the number.
I am failing to find that there was a very good thread from a former Rays pitcher talking about his experience with the arbitration process and things like that. And when you looked at it through the lens that he presented, it does make sense that an arbitrator would pick that $32 million price point over 19.
It would be criminal to pick the 19.
Yeah, probably so.
It's supposed to represent what he would get on a free agent contract, basically.
It's supposed to at least be
close to it. There's no way Tarik Skubal signs a $19 million contract as a free agent right now.
No.
Not a chance.
It is at least supposed to be close, right? I think we all know, Alex Bregman we're about to talk about him. He wasn't getting 35 in arbitration. He got a big pay. Every player gets a jump usually if they are in this record conversation of arbitration. Usually they will still see a raise in that second contract, right?
I guess the difference for me between what Alex Bregman would have gotten in his final year of arbitration, which I don't remember what that amount was, is that your free agent contract benefits from a bidding war in a lot of cases, and I think that's what happened with Bregman here. And so Tarik Skubal isn't benefiting from a bidding war, but if he was benefiting from a bidding war, I think he might be up to 40.
He might be. He might absolutely be. And now I think this is but what does this all boil down to? I think that we can all agree that Skubal's submitted number is fair market value at least. At least. I don't know what the Tigers are doing though. That's where most of my focus is on right now because
Yeah, for sure.
this I get it. We got the whole possible losing games in 27. The regional sports network stuff is all up in the air. How, floor cap, things like there's a lot of moving factors in the next 2 calendar years of baseball. But at the end of the day, you want to at least compete in 2026, right? Like that's the core
Do
that you
you?
presented.
This is the thing I keep yelling about, of course, Jacob, is that team owners don't care about competing. They want to make money. If they also happen to compete, great.
Right. That's okay. Fair.
And so, Mike Ilitch, rest in peace, wanted to win. So he spent a little extra. I don't know who owns the Tigers now. Maybe they don't care as much.
Maybe not. Like, and they have plenty of other arbitration eligible players. Like they had a pretty notable class of arbitration eligible players. They did not break the bank on anyone. Riley Green is coming off of his second consecutive All-Star bid and won his Silver Slugger this past year at $5 million.
It's barely more than Vinnie.
Exactly. Now I cannot remember. Okay, excuse me. This is his first year of arbitration, so it's
also Vinnie's first year.
Right.
Vinnie has no All-Stars. He has no Silver Sluggers. And he plays a position. Now, I would argue Riley Green is worse in left field than Vinnie is at first base, but it's a less valuable defensive position also. So I think you could make a direct comparison between these two guys in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I
don't know what the point I'm making is. I just noticed it though.
Yeah. No.
I've lost the thread of my argument, Jacob.
I don't know if there's an argument to make at this point because we're still in wait and see mode. The two parties can settle between now and whenever that hearing happens in February.
The reason I brought up some of the point of the numbers before is this is another thing I'm stealing from Craig Brown, but that I also knew was true even before I saw him write it. There's little incentive for Tarik Skubal to come down off of that $32 million.
Right, I agree.
He's gonna get it. So why would you agree to 31? The way things are structured, you're going to get the 32, I assume. Now, if he knows something I don't know about how the arbitration hearing could go, then maybe that changes things. But I don't see any way he doesn't get the 32 based on those two numbers. So why should he negotiate? And that's what I'm saying. The Tigers were dumb because you could have got him for less if you negotiated before the numbers went out. Yeah. Now that the numbers are out, that's what he's getting.
Yeah.
And maybe he always do that, when it comes down to it, I'm putting this number in. And but that's where I'm also saying, if you put in 25, maybe the arbitrator thinks 25 is more reasonable than 32. But you put in 19, he's getting 32.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, is that the Tigers seem to have badly misplayed their hand here.
Well, they're also playing that hand against the one and only Scott Boras. So we'll see what happens there. All right.
He's like him, dislike him, whatever. He's dang good at his job.
He is.
There's a reason the players keep signing on to his agency.
Yep, exactly. All right. Speaking of numbers, we did finally get a big number still in the Midwest. This time coming from the Chicago Cubs, who notably are what I would call a big market team, but rarely do they spend like it. They absolutely ponied up for third baseman Alex Bregman, though, a 5-year, $175 million contract for the former Boston Red Sox man.
The first time I read that, I thought it was 125.
Yeah.
So $25 million a year. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. And then I realized, no, it's 175. That's $35 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
What are the Cubs doing?
They're going all in on Bregman. A no trade clause, no opt-outs. That was notably a part of Bregman's plan with the Boston Red Sox. It was opt-out heavy. This is the third largest contract in franchise history, excuse me. Now, according to Ken Rosenthal,
he's going to be 32 before the season starts.
Right. So this is This is one of those things where the Cubs obviously believe that Bregman's value at the plate and value in the field will age well. And I don't think that's entirely wrong. He's not been a too volatile of a player. He did have injury issues in 2025, but we'll see if he can put those behind him in 2026. I do want to point out though that Ken Rosenthal reported this contains $70 million in deferred money. I don't know how that structure is, but this is, Cubs ownership investing in Bregman. Like I said, it was for so long that franchise has acted like it's the South Side brother, like it's a small market team who just can't afford to do anything more. No, that team could afford to do so much more. And they whiffed on Bregman ahead of the 2025 season. And thankfully, they went back around and they're investing in the infield. I do think that I don't know who put it out on Royals Review Twitter. Go follow them. But I do want to say that is there an implication here for the Royals, Jeremy? With
For sure. I can think of two off the top of my head.
what are the two?
So Bo Bichette, almost certainly going to be a Red Sox now.
Yeah.
The Red Sox were said to be pursuing Bregman and Bichette, wanting one or the other of them. They didn't get Bregman. They're going to go for Bichette. His market's going to heat up, and I think the Red Sox will get him. But the Cubs already had a third baseman in Matt Shaw. Rumor is they're probably going to move him to second, which makes Nico Hoerner expendable. Nico Hoerner is in the last year of his current contract. He will be making, it looks like about $11.5 million.
Yep. That's the annual value.
He has been worth 3.9 or more wins above replacement every full season he has ever played,
which is wild to me.
Which are it's 4 straight seasons now.
Yeah.
The last season was 4.8, almost 5 WAR as a second baseman. Now, he does do me a little concern. He doesn't walk. He also doesn't strike out.
He doesn't. Look at that. Look at that number. 7.6% strikeout rate. That's crazy.
Almost never swings and misses. Doesn't walk. Doesn't strike out. Doesn't have any power.
Yeah.
So he's actually a great guy to go get for 1 year and be like, fix second base for us.
Yeah.
I saw somebody thought maybe Chris Bubich for Nico Hoerner. You also, I think, got to dump Jonathan India somewhere. But again, I think you could find a team that will give you a lottery ticket for him. Maybe it's the Dodgers. I don't know. Maybe it's the Angels. You just like, here, take Jonathan India. Just give us some random guy you don't care about.
Yeah.
Some guy you were probably going to cut anyway. We just want the salary off the books. You can do that. Nico Hoerner scares the heck out of me without any power or any walks. His offense is entirely batting average based.
It is.
But he doesn't strike out. He's a little bit like a younger right-handed Luis Arias, but with better defense and better base running.
So truth be told, I don't know if the Cubs are in the market for Bubich anymore. I really don't. They already got 2 southpaws in the rotation. They just added Edward Cabrera this past week. That not saying that the rotation
Steele and Naga are both
solid.
I mean, they're both pretty good guys. It's not like they don't have a top of the rotation.
Right. Boyd, Cabrera, Horton, who's coming off of an NL Rookie of the Year worthy campaign.
Yeah.
And then Jameson Taillon in his last year of control with the Cubs. This is like
Steele.
Steele is still, he's coming back from the elbow surgery.
And Imanaga.
Yeah.
Imanaga signed the qualifying offer. So he is still there.
Right. So they should have Steele back at some point in 2026. In what capacity is a valid question. I just don't know if they're like, I look at that roster right now and it's holy smokes. Just buckle down, focus on spring training and get to opening day healthy. Like maybe they make a move in spring training, but I just don't know if that trade fit is there anymore. And it's not like the Royals can really woo them with prospect capital. I mean, maybe you could try to make something around Blake Mitchell. There's
also always, the three team trade if somebody else wants Bubich and will send prospects to the Cubs to get Nico Hoerner to the Royals.
Yeah. That's true. JJ Colo did talk about that the Royals would be willing to get creative to get their needs addressed. But I will say the Cubs, they don't have a top catching prospect right now in the pipeline. So that's something to watch at least. Gallimaya is I don't consider him a prospect anymore.
Yeah. The one thing that stresses me out about sending Bubich to the Cubs for Nico is that when I think of trading Bubich, I think it's important to think of him as not just a 1-year contract for a really good pitcher with an injury history, but a 1-year contract for a really good pitcher who, if the injuries don't completely derail things, you can do a qualifying offer. So you get him for either a second year at a discount, because it'll be 20 some odd million, not 30, 40 million like some of these aces are getting, or perhaps a draft pick.
Yeah.
But without any kind of risk. So there's a lot more to it than just 1 year of a good pitcher that's going with Bubich. The thing about Nico Horner is, man, if he's worth 5 WAR again as a second baseman, you maybe could give him a qualifying offer for do the same thing. Rather, you get a guy that maybe you don't want to pay him quite that much, especially if you're the Royals, but you also can, if he doesn't sign it, then you get that draft pick.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll I think it's something that the Royals and I'm sure other teams around the league are weighing after this Alex Bregman addition. One other is anything else on the Cubs?
Just real quick, I pulled it up on baseball trade values, and Chris Bubich and Nico Horner would be pretty comparable as far as they're
Really
concerned in the trade.
interesting. Okay, something to keep in mind. Now, one thing that I know, he's the commissioner of baseball. I know a lot of folks don't like Rob Manfred, and it's kind of for good reason. Like any
Yeah.
commissioner is going to be, he's not there to represent the game. He is there to represent the owners. At the end of the day, that is how I frame it. Man, he's just got this smugness about him sometimes, and he has been very willing to change things that people consider to be integral to the game. So when Rob Manfred talks about how they have talked about having a split season and in-season tournaments, people are going to listen and people are going to get worried. I don't know why this guy's talking about this stuff when we need to be focusing on the labor, on the CBA. But here we are.
Maybe it's to make us talk about this instead of the incoming lockout.
It could be. It
Could be a distraction tactic.
So for black and white information real quick for our listeners. So this is from a radio interview with WFAN, a notable station in Chicago, if I recall correctly. We know.
Sounds right.
Gosh dang it. Now, don't know if that's right or not. But anyways, spoke about it. Quote, we've talked about split seasons. We've talked about in-season tournaments. We do understand that 162 games is a long pull. I think the difficulty to accomplish these sort of in-season events, you almost inevitably start talking about fewer regular season games.
You also talk about completely disrupting the schedule and rhythm of baseball.
Right. And we already talk about like, oh, the All-Star break can really throw some things off around the league with teams and with individual players and things like that. I just don't know, man. I really don't. I have no interest in this. And I know a lot of basketball fans didn't have an interest in the NBA Cup, and I haven't seen opinions that say, oh, well, we were really wrong about this. We were really wrong about this in-season tournament. That it doesn't accomplish anything to grow the game. I don't know what the benefit is to the game of baseball, to the players really, or to the league. I'm sure there's something.
I can tell you what the benefit to the league is.
Well, is it
That's
you
easy,
just market
Jacob?
this?
It's the benefit that the league is always seeking. Money. An in-season tournament, you can sell that as a tournament to the national TV broadcasters and get more money.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's 127% what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's true.
There is no benefit to the players. There is no benefit to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
As he notes in the interview, by the way, I don't know if you heard me, WFAN is in New York.
Yes, thank you.
It's purely about extra dollars for the owners. It would absolutely destroy baseball. More than any game is built on records. Do you know what the record for the most touchdowns thrown is?
Like 52?
like 52. Do you know what the record for the most home runs is? Well, it's 73, unless you consider that Barry Bonds sucks. Well, then it's 70, unless you consider that Mark McGwire did steroids. And then it's 61, and that's Roger Maris and Aaron Judge.
Fair.
Bam, you know that. You know it. You know, the numbers are sacred in baseball.
Yeah.
Numbers, more than wins, are sacred in baseball. You can't F with the numbers. And a midseason tournament, especially one that would reduce perhaps drastically, because I think I think most fans would be okay if we went back down to like 154. I don't think anyone would complain too much about that. It also wouldn't affect the numbers that much. It's 8 games. And some of these records were set on 54. So it's fine. But it would be more than 8 games that you'd lose to a mid-season tournament. You'd have to think.
Right.
So you can't F with the numbers. You've got to do better. You can't do this. I don't think maybe fans would show up for it. I know we would show up for it, because what else are we going to do with our lives? And so that's what makes me a little afraid is when businesses do these things that are deeply unpopular, and we all just go, well, I have to live with the reality that I'm in, so I'm still participating. They still get what they want, even though it's deeply unpopular. And that's one of the things I think businesses have figured out since we were kids. I think when we were kids, businesses did things that they thought would be popular in order to get people to be loyal to them, and they don't care about loyalty anymore. They just care about the money, and it just seems to keep working.
It does. It absolutely does. I don't see a world where they make this work. I will say there was a pretty well thoughtful piece put together on The Athletic from Chad Jennings, Andy McCullough, and Sam Bloom talking about how this could all break down. I think that, Jeremy, but before we move on, I do think that you could make a case for this if MLB wasn't already implementing a season schedule that had every team playing the other 29. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd have more interest in it, at least.
Right. But like, I already know that I'm going to see that I could see the Royals play the Orioles in Camden Yards. Like, I can go see that game. I know it already. There's nothing in my mind special on paper that wouldn't be the league just manufacturing something special. You know what I mean? Anything else before we move on to these first basemen, man?
Gosh, what can I say to delay us having to talk about the first baseman for a little bit longer? I will say that, man, the other thing that occurred to me is that this might be a negotiating tactic, as this is one more thing we're going to throw at the players that they don't want, so we can concede on this while we're trying to get that salary cap in place.
That's a good point. That kind of overflow the table with options and with demands, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's certainly a good point there. But Jeremy, we cannot skirt around this anymore. We got to talk about these first basemen in the Royal system, bro.
Or at least the one first baseman.
There's one above them all. One to rule them all. And we already know who that is. Folks, if this is your first time listening, this is an off-season exercise we do where we go through and we kind of lay out the structure for each position, each field of players. We rank them long-term impact, short-term impact. All those things come into play here.
It's special sauce. It's the 8 secret ingredients. We can't tell you what the criteria are. Just know that it tastes good when we're done. Okay.
Exactly. And every recipe is different. I have
this
different.
This is the Taco Bell meat of podcasting.
Well, that is certainly how we can describe the first base situation right now for Kansas City. It's bad. Can we have Nick Prado back, please?
You're not kidding right now.
Yeah. So well, I liked how we did it last time, Jeremy, where
I
we
did
go
too.
Where like I'll start off with one.
This is what all the great creatives do, is they steal ideas from other people.
I mean, isn't that all literature and movies are nowadays anyways?
Yeah, but I always remember this one quote that's like, bad writers copy, good writers steal.
I mean, not
we
wrong.
Stole it. We didn't copy, we stole it, because we didn't do it exactly the same way or about exactly the same thing. So I'm going to give us that credit.
Oh yeah, I'll take that. So, Jeremy, please go and start off with number one. There's no secret here for first
There's no
baseman.
secret, there's no debate. A lot of times yesterday or last time was interesting because we did have two catchers that we could argue
Yeah.
back and forth about. Outfielders is going to be interesting, pitchers is going to be interesting, starters and relievers going to be interesting. Infielders is not going to be interesting to start. First baseman is not interesting to start.
Nope, absolutely not.
I was like when I heard that the Royals keep was doing the 25 most valuable players for the Royals, I'm like, well, I know who number 1 is,
Yeah.
and I can guess who number 2 is. Some things are just self-evident. But in this case, the number 1 first baseman, most important, most valuable, most talented, all the secret spices that we're using, he's number 1. Vinnie Pasquantino.
Yep, the Pasquatch, the one and only. Number 1 on my list too.
I don't know, what do you want me to say about him? He could walk a little bit more. We've seen it in the past. We didn't see it as much last year. The power showed up last year. I think he's a really, really intelligent hitter.
Yep.
And I think if you make the lineup more dangerous, he gets fewer pitches to hit. He takes more walks. I think that he has, at times over the last 2 seasons, sold out to get a sacrifice fly when he could have taken a walk.
Mm-hmm.
If the lineup's deeper, maybe he stops doing that. Maybe he goes, listen, I don't have to drive this run in. I can become a runner who can also be driven in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I that'll be an interesting thing if the Royals successfully have or finish lengthening this lineup this year. Will Vinnie Pasquantino start taking more walks again? Because I think he's the kind of hitter who can adjust his game in that way.
Yeah. We have seen he has brought value to the plate in 2 different ways, I would say, in 2024 and 2025. We've already seen the season-to-season adjustments from him, and you can watch with your eyes. It is game-to-game, plate appearance to plate appearance adjustments from Vinnie Pasquantino. He's a guy that we aren't going to be talking about him in, he's one of the highest FWAR guys out there. He's a true 5-tool guy. We're not going to talk about him like that. He is a guy that I want on my team, though. I will say that.
He marries talent with intelligence, with hard work in a way that you don't always see. I think a lot of really talented guys don't work as hard as they could. And I think a lot of talented guys who work really hard aren't necessarily that smart. Vinny brings all 3 of those things to the table, though his talent is probably a little, like you're saying, he's not a 5-tool guy. The talent is probably a little bit less than some people.
Mm-hmm.
But he brings so much intelligence and so much hard work to the table that he makes the most out of the talent he's got, and he's got enough talent that it's worth having. It's a good thing they've got Vinny because things get pretty bleak after Vinny.
Yes, it is a steep drop off to our shared number 2. I'll go ahead and spoil that.
Can I before you get to your number 2, can I just say that if the criteria were different, my number 2 would be Salvador Perez.
Yeah, I did think about that because we talked about with the catchers that Salvi should factor into the first base picture a lot on the 26-man roster. And I don't think he's going to be the only one. I think we'll talk about Nick Lofton late in another episode, but I think that he's going to see some innings at first base when it comes down to
Adam
it.
Frazier, once they sign him, will factor in.
I still can't believe they haven't signed him. I really can't.
He must be waiting to see if he can get a better deal. I don't think he's gonna. Hopefully this just means the Royals aren't betting against themselves. They're like, we've offered you $2 million. When you're ready to sign it, let us know.
Yep. I hope that's how it's working out behind the scenes. Our shared number 2, former Boston Red Sox player Abraham Toro, a minor league free agent addition with an invitation to spring training for this coming camp. He is purely a replacement level guy. He didn't have a great season at the plate last year. He has played for, hold on, let me look at this just to make sure. Played for 4 different teams in the last 4 seasons. He's been an 81 WRC plus player in his pretty solid group of games. He's not exciting, but he's number 2 on the list.
Yeah, and he's mostly number 2 on the list because if Vinny gets hurt, he's the guy that gets the call. As the whole organization is structured right now, they literally have no one else who plays first base in Omaha. And they probably don't want to just make Salvi the starting first baseman because they want him to catch sometimes. So you probably call it, and even if you were like, well, Salvi's going to be the starting first baseman, then Toro, you still got to have Toro to play first when Salvi isn't playing first, when he's DHing or catching.
Yeah. Not a not a lot to talk about with Toro. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a guy that the Royals can fix or turn things around. He was a former like top 3 prospect in the Houston system. Like he was evaluated to have talent, just hasn't turned into MLB production. And that's a kind way to put it.
And remember, he was a first baseman with Boston last year.
Yeah.
And Boston was like, please, anyone, can we get a first baseman? Anybody, please. Tristan Cassis is hurt and we don't know what to do. So that tells you, like, it ain't just the Royals that look at Abraham Toro and are like,
Yeah.
it's another first base needy team that looks at him and goes,
He was I think a good way to describe him is he was an expected stats darling for a while. And just that,
for a while.
yeah,
Not last year.
No, not last year. Moving on down to number 3. Who you got at number 3?
So let me be real honest with you, Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
From 3 through 8, I almost was throwing darts at a board, okay?
Yeah.
I've only heard of one of these guys before I went to put this list together. And it's not my number 3 guy.
Yeah.
So my number 3 guy, I got Sam Ruta, who he's in Double-A. He was a undrafted free agent signing. He's only played 1 year in the minors. He went straight to Double-A. And he almost held his own despite, skipping 2 levels. I don't know where he came from. I don't know his whole circumstances. It's very odd for someone to go straight to Double-A like that. Like even a guy that you think should be in Double-A, you would expect to sign and see him play a couple games in the complex or a couple games in A-ball and then move him to Double-A. The Royals just were like, yeah, you're in Double-A. And my notes I've got, he was a little under average as far as WRC plus goes. He does walk a lot. He also strikes out a lot, and he has a little bit of power. So the little bit of power and the fact that he just kind of threw him into the deep end at Double-A is what makes me, and that he's young for the level is what got me to put him that high.
Yeah. So he, notably, I think that oh man, I think that 6'10" had a good profile on him last year. Former Army, West Point athlete. He was in the draft league a little bit in 2024, but yeah, there's no indie ball, there's nothing before 2025 when he showed up with the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. He had moments. I think he's a little bit of a streaky hitter. I got him down at number 6 simply because I don't know. I take the Royals putting him at Double-A in one of 2 ways. Number one, they are very comfortable with what he is right now as a 23-year-old player, or they didn't see much in him long term, so they weren't worried about his development, and you just toss him in the deep end and see if he sinks or swims.
First.
Right. So that's kind of where I look at it. I think that 2026 he could surprise a lot of folks. He is not well regarded in prospect circles, but he's a first baseman in the Royal system nonetheless.
Yeah, and I'm not prepared at any point to argue any of these rankings.
I gotcha.
If you say he's 6th, I'm like, all right, Jacob, sure, he's 6th. As far as I'm concerned, he could be 16th out of 12 first basemen. I posted it on Blue Sky last night. It's we've reiterated it multiple times in this podcast already. Situation is dire at first base for the Kansas City Royals.
It is, and he is another. I don't want to say the first, because them giving a minor league contract to Toro is not them investing a lot in Toro as a player or his future contributions to.
Literally, we need someone to play first base.
Right.
They lost Nick Prado and they traded Kellen Moss.
Right. My point being is, I'm looking at my rankings. I'm looking at your rankings. They have not invested highly in any of these guys. It's a lot of non-drafted free agents. It's a lot of former indie ball guys. It's a lot of international free agent flyers. None of them high in any of those respective rankings. So it's worth noting, because I go down to my number 3, and I got Brett Squires, another non-drafted free agent who's
the only one I'd heard of.
Which, to be fair, Squires absolutely had a notable 2024 season. He got all-star honors with high A quad cities, 151 WRC plus in an injury shortened season. It was a great step forward for him, but he didn't quite hit the ground running in double A. He had a 105 WRC plus. The strikeouts rose, the walks dropped. The power's still there, but he's not a guy that you can hitch your wagon to and even say, this is who we want taking plate appearances at AAA Omaha. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they send him back to double A to
Got to.
maybe iron things out. He's going to be 26
Yeah.
on opening day,
That's
though.
that's the problem is I could look at his numbers if he was a 22-year-old, maybe even a 23, 24-year-old last year and say, okay, I'm probably not a 24-year-old, 23-year-old. So, young for the level rather than 1 year older than the level, which is what he ended up being last year. And I could look at those numbers and think that there's some promise there. But being a year over the level and then losing as much average and OBP as he lost, it's not a bright future. I have him as my fourth guy.
Okay. I mean, do you want me to go ahead and go on to number 4 then
Yeah, give
for
me your
myself?
number 4.
So my number 4 is a 2025 draftee, again down in the teens in the rounds. JC Vanek. He is. I want to make sure that I'm saying this right. He comes out of Chipola College, I believe it is
Chipotle?
Chipola
Because
College.
he got some of that. I don't know what he got some guac, some 50-cent guac. I don't know. That was way too much work for that bad of a joke. Please move on.
I'm moving on. Other guy who he cropped up in the draft league in 2025. He was all right in that short span of games. He did make his professional debut with the Columbia Fireflies this year, a 688 OPS plus. This is I'm trying to think of how to describe him because he does things well. He has some power. He hasn't looked overwhelmed in his brief appearances. He was committed to Florida State before the draft. And I think he has some tools that could see, okay, you could build upon this, but he doesn't have a carrying tool right now at first base, which is not good, but he has time ahead of him to develop what he currently has, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who you got for so you already told me your number
5.
4. Who you got at number 5?
Jacob. At number 5, I have Jose Cerise.
Okay.
The only notes I wrote for myself kicking last night, Jeremy, right now, the only notes I have for myself, I hope you know something about this kid. I have only 20 hitting well.
I mean, both those are correct, if that makes you feel better
I
at
didn't even
all.
put what league he was in, Jacob. What was I doing?
He did, so 20 years old. He did make his low A debut last year, ended up with a 109 WRC plus.
Makes him the right-ish age, maybe a little young.
The power production dropped off a cliff at that level. Row 6'9" ISO.
Where's Columbia, you said?
Yeah, Columbia.
I feel like that's where power goes to die.
It does.
I feel like
It
I
does.
remember that being true, so it might come back as he moves.
It might. It might absolutely move. And just to be clear, this isn't if I remember correctly, someone out there can correct me. Cerise was a catching prospect, I think, when they signed him out of Cuba back in 2024. He has been a first baseman and a third baseman though in the Royals system. Yeah, I didn't even really consider him. He's not on my 8 at all. I
I'm
don't
so
think
glad you're better at this than me that you had anything on him when he wasn't even in your 8. Like, Valak wasn't in my 8 at all, and I didn't remember he existed.
That's fine. That is okay.
You carry this segment, Jacob. You're one of the secret spices.
Yes, I will absolutely take that. Yeah, another guy doesn't have a huge carrying tool or anything like that. He could develop into something, he could develop into nothing. He is a true dart throw.
I want to also throw out there that while Jacob is carrying this segment is my baby that I keep forcing Jacob to do. And then I'm like, Jacob, we gotta do the depth chart thing. And Jacob's like, do we? And I'm like, yeah. And then Jacob puts in all the work, and I'm like, who's this guy?
No, I don't think it's that
And
bad.
we all know that the only reason I want to do this is because I found Walter Pennington in 24. And I'm like,
fair.
I might accidentally find someone again.
That's not wrong though. Yeah. So Cerise, I don't remember how much he signed for. Truth be told, back in 2024, but we'll see what he could do.
All right,
Yeah.
so it's your number 5 now, Jacob.
Yeah, my number 5, Derlin Figueroa. He was a part of the Ryan Yarborough trade. If you can remember back to that.
I didn't realize he was. I do recognize that name. I didn't realize he was still in or back in the organization or whatever.
Yeah, he is still in the organization, still very much at the age where he can like still develop, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
into where we're talking about him on the major league roster. So I'm double checking before I misspeak. What?
I looked him up. The strikeout rate jump from A ball 14.9% to high A 29.1%. That's a big woof.
Yeah, huge woof. He's also a guy who has huge power, and
not in high A.
Not in high A.
I'm banging everything into the ground.
Yeah, that was his big. That was the big concerning part. So we'll see if he can turn that around. Of course, this was his first taste of high A at 21 years old. So he is still he's still on track to where he can work off of this power. The power is, I keep on talking about carrying tools. What I mean by that is this is a tool that can carry a guy to a big league debut at least.
Like Tolbert's speed.
Right. I think that Figueroa's power is a carrying tool. I got it at like a 60 grade myself, but it's the swing and miss is still an issue.
I would take a 60 grade on any of my tools.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm 20 across the boards there, Jeremy.
No, maybe in baseball tools, but you got other tools that are at least 60s.
Price.
Handsomeness. Choice in partner.
Choice in podcast partner.
Well, that one, that might be a 15.
Dang, off the 2080 scale entirely. But he's a guy I'm watching into 2026. See if he can rebound from his struggles in Quad Cities and keep it moving. I think
finding a guy with a carrying tool is really smart when you're looking at a disaster like this.
Yeah. This is certainly a disaster.
Have I reiterated enough times that the minor leagues are bad for first baseman for the Royals?
Yeah, it's bad. It is really bad. I will say this though, something that I noticed when I looked, it's not nearly as bad for other organizations, but it seems like there is not a lot of top flight talent at first base around the league right now. Like that seemed like a consistent issue.
There's a reason that Jake Berger and Josh Bell keep getting major league deals. Carlos Santana keep getting major league deals. People are like, well, maybe this 40-year-old guy could give me something because I ain't got nobody else.
Right. Exactly. Who's your number 5 again?
My number 5 was Cerise.
Okay. And Figueroa is my number 5. Ruta is my number 6. So who is your number 6?
Oh boy, Chris Brito.
Okay, he's my number 7.
Okay, I have here. He's got a high WRC plus at high A. However, he's 3 years older than the competition.
He is. He is not a. Yeah, he's not new to the scene at all. A former Rutgers athlete. I'm looking up his playing record because it was. He had a lot going on, to say the least. He played for Rutgers from 2019 to 2023. Okay. So he's already 23 in that last season in Rutgers. Then he goes to Staten Island of the Atlantic League, an indie ball club, and he joins the Royals in 2024. Appears at every single level except Major League Baseball. Omaha, Northwest Arkansas, Quad Cities, and Columbia, all 4.
The definition of somebody's got to play a position.
Yeah. Exactly. He was okay at the plate. Not terrible, not bad. And he was kind of okay at the plate in his first full season or excuse me, he only had 55 games at Quad Cities. I'm unaware if there's an injury issue or what happened there,
I don't know.
but he draws walks. At least like he walks at a decent clip. Just doesn't
I
have the
did notice
power.
there was a lot of walking happening, but
Yeah.
in the low ball, but I wonder how much of that is just pitchers have no control at that level.
Right. And he's a pretty, like you said, he's old for that level. He's pretty experienced for that.
And you would expect someone that much older than the competition to be good at not swinging at their awful pitches.
Correct. Correct. He's a guy, he can play both first and third. He has experience at that. The fielding is not bad either. Let me look up something real quick because I want to say that he was making good like plays for the Quad Cities in the field, excuse me. No, you know what? I'm thinking of Sam Ruta in Northwest Arkansas.
Don't get the darts confused, Jacob.
There's so many darts on the board right now. There's a lot. Yeah, Brito, he's not super exciting. He like a lot of folks easily get him confused with Juan Brito, who's a very exciting Cleveland Guardians prospect. Yep, not the same guy, unfortunately.
Are they at
But yeah,
least related?
I can't confirm if they're related or
Can we
not.
trade him to the Guardians and say they're related and the Guardians should take him and give us Jose Ramirez?
I mean, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Mikel Garcia can move to second for Jose Ramirez.
Would gladly take that deal.
Actually, Jose Ramirez could probably move to second if we're being honest.
Hey, easy there, killer.
He played second when he was a rookie.
He did. He did play there. All right. So I got him at number 7. Who do you have at number 7?
I have Omar Reyes.
Yeah.
And okay, so much like you were looking for carrying tool, I was like, all right, let me find somebody with a low swinging strike rate. That's
Okay.
what I'm looking for. That's the thing that the Royals are kind of valuing right now. So let me look for that. And I found Omar Reyes, who was more than 2 years older than his competition. I failed to note what his competition was, and he's a low swinging strike rate, and that's literally the only reason I put him in here.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find him real quick. Where did you play, buddy?
He's still down in the Dominican Summer League. He did have a 139 WRC plus at that level as a 20-year-old though. Like we talked about Brito and high A, like you kind of expect a 20-year-old to take care of business in the DSL.
He also has much higher swinging strike rates every season before last year.
Yeah. So maybe something's changed.
34%. Well, that was only in 8 games. So across all of his 2024, he had a 29% swinging strike rate.
That's crazy.
That is
wild.
That is unplayably like if you had a 29% swinging strike rate at the major league level, you would be worse at swinging strikes than Joey Gallo.
Good Lord.
And it's not like he brings a lot of like Joey Gallo was awful with swinging strikes, but he brought power to the table. Omar Reyes has
not
3 home runs across 3 seasons of minor league ball.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo, you know, like, and again, Joey Gallo was doing this at the major league level. This is in the complex leagues. Joey Gallo's swinging strike rates were in the 20s, the high teens to the low 20s, not 30%.
Yeah. So he is completely off the radar in my mind, but we'll
probably should be. But I was like, listen, I'm throwing darts here. He didn't swing and miss that much last year.
Hey, you brought it up with someone's got to play first, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think that my number 8 guy exemplifies
seven.
that.
You're still on 7.
Sorry, Brito's was my number 7. So I'm moving on number 8.
Okay, so number 8. I think we have the same number 8.
I think so. And he's a guy who I cannot make this shit up, for lack of better terms. He went from the complex league to AAA Omaha. That was his first career transaction.
Yeah.
Someone has to play in the field. And that is Stone Russell, who is still 21 years old. He's a former IMG Academy athlete, which is known for churning out professional sports prospects.
Where the new outfield guy, the first draft pick came from. Gamble.
Yep.
Sean Gamble. Seth Gamble? Sean Gamble?
Sean Gamble. He's not like a top 30 prospect or nothing like that. He went back to Columbia this past year, he played 115 games there. Like he is durable, but you come away with the 222 batting average and a 333 on base percentage with not a lot of power. That's not going to be an enticing blend of tools. He does walk at a decent rate compared to strikeout rate. He plays the field well, and yeah, he can play. That's about it right now, though.
Yeah, I have him on here because he brought some OBP and because of the name.
Stone.
You want a Stone at first base?
I want Stone, Russell, and Canyon Brown in my lineup. Okay.
Yeah. Fangraphs says he could play first, second, or third. So
Yeah, he's got innings at
positional
all of
versatility,
those.
baby.
Yeah, and that's that's one reason why I included him here, because if the bat can come along at all, then he does have a path.
He's gonna have
But
to find some power.
some at least, man. And I don't know.
Let's
I
not
don't
do
love
Nicky Lopez all over again.
no. I don't love the lack of swing change, if that makes sense. I was looking at Stone Russell a lot before this for some reason. Because
you're
he was
crazy.
yeah. I don't love the lack of his swing mechanic changes. It's pretty much the exact same thing from when he was at IMG and he graduated in 2023.
Ton of
Like
ground balls. That's part of his
Yeah.
power problem.
Yeah, exactly. He could, for all we know, he could be hitting the ball hard, but pounding it right into the ground.
Yeah.
Food for thought. But yeah,
Maybe
first base.
the new hitting coach or the new minor league hitting coordinator will unlock something in Stone, and we can be talking about him much more glowingly next year.
Nope, not at all. I got
happen?
nothing. No, it can't happen.
Okay, well, sorry, Stone.
Stone,
you permanently suck. Jacob has decreed.
Stone, I'm trying to give you bulletin board material. Please prove me wrong for the love of this system, for the benefit of this system. Please prove me wrong. Yeah, it's bad. It's not great around the league, but it is noticeably bad for the Royals right now. Jeremy, I got nothing else on these first basemen. I want to move on, man.
We could, and I refused to do this. We could talk about Jack Caglione as a first base guy. He obviously was a first baseman in college. I know Soren Petro kind of famously hates having him in the outfield. He says he's too big, doesn't want him moving around that much. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think Aaron Judge does just fine, and he's even bigger. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know some people want to trade Vinnie and stick Jack at first full time. I want Jack in the outfield. I want Jack in the outfield for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to consider Jack a primary first baseman until it happens, because I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If the Royals make any trades of Chris Bubich or any player and they're looking to acquire prospect capital, I think this is certainly a spot that they can at least acquire a lottery ticket or something and just still improve the outlook overall.
I will say the other thing, and this is one of the reasons why when we do this next year, I'm going to push to include first baseman on the infield, is that anyone who plays the infield, you can shift over to first base. You don't have to develop them as first baseman. You can develop. I mean, you pointed out, I think you already said, I know you put it in your notes, Nick Lofton is someone, yeah, you did say that, is someone who could factor in at first base. Nick Lofton didn't play any first base, really, in the minor leagues until last year, the year before, when it was like, okay, you're about ready to try and contribute as a utility guy at the big league level. Learn first base to add to your utility. So, some of these guys that we talk about next time when we talk about infielders are guys that the Royals could move to first base if they're like, okay, well, Bobby and Michael aren't going anywhere. We have miraculously solved our second base problem, so we'll move this guy to first and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You have to, when you move somebody to first, they have to be able to hit. I don't think the Royals really have a hit first guy in their infield prospects, but we'll find out when I actually look at them.
Sounds good to me. One other guy that I didn't bring up at all, who I put in my notes, who I think is a good candidate to move off of catcher to first base full time, Ramon Ramirez. We talked about him in the last podcast episode a little bit. He is a bat first guy through and through. He can be behind the plate. I think that if the Royals really believe in the hit tool and the power, then it might benefit them to say, okay, well, Blake Mitchell is kind of blocking your path right now to get regular playing time at catcher. Let's move you to first, and let's move one of these other guys off and see what happens there. So it's an idea. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's certainly an idea. All right.
I find that interesting. I would think you'd really want him to stick at catcher, but and it would make more sense to trade him to
Hmm.
get a first baseman and something rather than to move him to first. But I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
I think it can go either way. There's multiple schools of thought here on the catcher to first base move is popular, and like we're seeing it with a lot of high profile international free agents for so something to monitor. All right. Jeremy, you got a review for us today? You got another platinum game?
Yeah, I did Platinum Peggle 2 since last time we talked. It's just a puzzle game,
Yeah.
basically, with a frustrating amount of luck, but I platinumed it and moved on. I did want to, I guess, real quick, let me throw out there America's Worst Cooks is a show that
Yeah.
I love. It's my parents, my whole family loves cooking competition shows. I can't remember if I feel like I've probably mentioned it before, but I watched another season of it.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna talk about it real quick. Family loves cooking competition shows. The only ones I've ever liked are Guys Grocery Games and America's Worst Cooks. And that's because the vibe is different in those shows. Guys Grocery Games is like, let's just have fun, let's do something silly, let's cook some great food, let's make you do silly shenanigans in order to cook your great food. It's not really very cutthroat. Like people are nice to each other. And then America's Worst Cooks is normal people just trying to learn how to cook. And over the course of a season, you can watch people learn how to cook and start to develop a confidence in themselves that they hadn't had before. It's can be kind of embarrassing to not know how to cook and learning it. And you'll see even when they don't win, they're like, well, at least I learned how to cook some.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that scary. And it's really cool to watch them grow through that process. And also, once you get to about the sixth season or so, the editors really start having fun. They start putting in some sound effects, some zany music, some really funny edits. And in season 7, that ramps up. And I think by season 8, they go full in on it. So it's heartwarming and hilarious at that point.
Yeah.
So it's a great show. Anne Burrell was the main competitor on the show for a long time, and unfortunately, she died
Yeah.
very recently, and it really sucks. We're gonna miss her, but the show continues. Hopefully, it will still have a tremendously fun vibe. I have not watched the latest season. Like I said, I just finished season 6. We went back. We're watching it, through the beginning. I watch it with my family because they're like, "We want to watch a cooking competition show." And I'm like, "Well, I've got one option for you."
I'm gonna stick with the food theme and talk about a YouTube channel that I enjoy watching that's food related. It's called Binging with Babish. This
Yeah,
is
I've definitely recommended that before.
okay, good. I was about to say like he's not a secret. He's got like 10.5 million subscribers on YouTube, but very very high quality content
Mhm,
producer and a good
mhm.
variety. I would say I not fell in love, but like I got hooked with the 10 levels of different foods, like 10 levels of a chocolate chip cookie. How crazy can you make it? Or 10 levels of mac and cheese. How fancy can you make it?
He doesn't make this style of video as much anymore, but what I fell in love with was the trying to create things that you see on TV shows. So, like, he
That's a good
did
one.
the flaming cornflakes or whatever from Avatar: The Last Airbender was the first one I saw.
Okay.
And those videos were always fun because it was like an experiment to see, okay, this is what they did. Can I replicate it? And then in cases where the food was something awful, he would be like, how can I make this something that has nods to this, but actually tastes good?
Gotcha. I like his where he'll go to he went to Bucky's and he said,
Hmm.
"Hey, let's eat everything here
Hmm.
and tear it out." I do like that. It's simple, it's straightforward, but you can go wrong even in that framework. And I enjoy him. It's a fun watch. So go check out Binging with Babish as you try to pass time this baseball off season. All right, Jeremy. Well, so can you just so I don't mess it up, can you tell the listeners which position we are going to be reviewing next time?
We are going to do the rest of the infield. And so second, short, third, because the even more than first base, they're so interchangeable. Obviously, the shortstop is the shortstop. The number one guy that we're going to talk about is a shortstop, and he's only a shortstop. But pretty much everyone else will play multiple positions. We agreed that guys who played more in the outfield last year than the infield would be considered outfielders. So Nick Lofton and Tyler Tolbert played more outfield than they did infield. So we'll talk about them as outfielders. So don't be shocked when we don't discuss them when we talk about the infielders.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. And that is coming out our next podcast episode. So make sure you follow or subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us at. If you don't mind leaving us a review, if you got a chance, we would also appreciate that. And most importantly, go check out royalsreview.com, who make this podcast happen. All right. Well, folks, it's Sunday evening. That is going to do it for us here. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Jacob Milham. They are Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, go Royals.
If I only could, I'd make a deal with God. 2 avocados for $10.
Oh my
He'd
God.
say, that's not very good. I'd say, do you want them or not? He'd say, it's the principle of the... I don't remember how the rest of the song goes.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.